Every year in May, Square Enix releases their financial reports, and a lot of stuff changes, a lot of stuff happens, stuff changes, stuff stays the same. Square Enix is going to do what Square Enix does, and it looks like we have some news in regards to Kingdom Hearts, in regards to Dragon Quest XII, in regards to Final Fantasy, and in regards to what they are just going to be doing over the course of the next couple of years. However, their new business strategy is the exact same business strategy that they announced last year, last May in 2024. They talked about, doing a whole lot of quality over quantity. Thank God, because, if anybody here remembers 2022, I do, they released like 10 games that winter, and it was kind of crazy. It was like every time you turned around, like every 2 weeks or so, there was a brand new game coming out, and not a whole lot of them were all that good. Yeah, there were some standout exceptions of some good games, but a lot of it was just like, what is this? What is going on? And they kind of trashed some long-standing franchises like the Valkyrie franchises. Everybody was excited for Valkyrie Elysium, and then it came out and they were like, whoa, this has nothing to do with Valkyrie Profile. What is going on? And their sales kind of tanked, and they really needed to do something and change something, and they ousted that old CEO, put in a new CEO, and they said, hey, you know what? We're going to be doing quality over quantity, and they have been doing that recently. People have been wondering, hey, Square Enix, where are all of your games? But what they are focusing on is trying to put out good quality games rather than just a whole bunch of games all the time, which does include some cancellations. If you recall, a couple years ago, probably last year, I think actually, they went through and they slashed a whole lot of just crummy games, and they said, these games are ones that are probably under that quantity umbrella, and we're going to be getting rid of them. We're not going to be dealing with them. We are just going to be moving on. We're going to be cutting our losses. We're not going to be investing any money into those crummy games any longer. We're just going to be focusing on the good ones. We're going to be focusing on quality. This is a 3-year plan to reboot their business that should end at the financial year of March 2027. So we still have a couple more years to go until this all comes to fruition. Then they say once that happens, they should be in a position to release major titles, mainly in key IPs, on a consistent basis. So it looks to me like they are following Capcom's ways of business, where they're like, okay, you know what, these are the games that sell, these games don't sell, so we're only going to focus on the games that do sell, and goodbye to Mega Man, goodbye to Breath of Fire, which is much to my chagrin, because I love Mega Man and I love Breath of Fire, so we shall see what's going to be happening here with Square. I don't think that anything of note is going to be gone, though. I think that we're still going to see the Chronos, we're still going to see Dragon Quests, the Final Fantasies, the Kingdom Hearts, we're still going to see that. What we're not going to be seeing is the various day lives of the world, thank God. So they went ahead and they reiterated that, yeah, they are doing that shift from quantity to quality this year, and all their games are going to be managed under one single umbrella, and that the Switch 2 is still important to their strategy. They go on and they talk about what games they want to be releasing in this next financial year, which is Bravely Default, the remaster, as well as Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake coming out. And they didn't go ahead and announce any new titles, though, but they did say that that is on their docket. Another thing that happened, and this was about 2 weeks ago, Square Enix got targeted by an activist investment fund known for their aggressive involvement in management. They got about a 5.5% stake in the company, so that's a rather large stake right there. And whenever I say activist investor, that does not mean political activism. Don't get it twisted. What this means is that they are wanting to push the company to do better, push the company, ask them the hard questions, and say, why are you doing this, rather than doing this. It says that these investors often target companies that are undervalued or suffering from poor management. The strategy is generally to invest in these companies and then push management to take actions that will increase corporate value. And it's somewhat infamous in Japan, and they did the same thing to Toshiba, Fujisoft, Sapporo Holdings, and yeah, it says here that the Sentaku magazine quotes a company head as calling their demands heart-wrenchingly extreme. and this fund has been called the most dynamic and feared activist in Japan. However, it is worth mentioning that this reputation is from the business leaders' perspectives and not the consumer perspectives. So we still have to take that kind of wait and see approach, wait and see what they're doing. I think that they're targeting Square Enix because they were like, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? What is going on here? But Square Enix has already taken proactive measures in order to, stem their losses, cut their losses, and take charge and put out good games. Another thing that we learned from this financial report was what actually led the charge, what actually spearheaded their profits. Well, that was the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake that exceeded sales expectations, and the Switch version sold like hotcakes. Everybody loved it. We also got some news about Dragon Quest XII. Yuji Horii reconfirms that Dragon Quest XII is alive and well. This has been in development since 2021. We haven't heard hide nor hair of it. All of we have seen is one little trailer that shows the logo. That's it. He says, this is from Yuji Horii himself, the title is still in development, and he can't say anything more about the game, though he is making it, and he's putting lots and lots of work into it. When he was asked, he also said, yes, I believe that this game could be compatible with the Switch 2 as well. So yeah, it looks like this is going to be Switch 2 compatible, which aligns with Square Enix's strategy of multi-platform releases. Now, we do know of an upcoming release that is single platform, and that is the Bravely Default remaster that has only been announced for the Switch 2. That's a Switch 2 launch title. It has yet to be announced for anything else. But Square Enix's strategy that they are saying that they're talking about, not only does it include putting out these games in these key franchises, Bravely Default being one of them, but also making it multi-platform. So something tells me we're going to be seeing that come out as, platform exclusive for the Switch 2, and then shortly thereafter they're going to say, oh yeah, it's also going to come out for the PS4 and the PS5 and the PC and Xbox and all these other things. So yeah. Another thing that happened, this is in regards to Kingdom Hearts. The Kingdom Hearts Missing Link mobile game has been canceled. Some people might rejoice over this. Some people might say, hey, this is really bad news. Personally, to me, I feel like the Kingdom Hearts series is so spread out and so spread thin over so many different platforms that a lot of people just don't know what to do. They can't follow the story. And this being a mobile game, more than likely it would have been canceled anyway after a couple of years. And then we wouldn't have a way to play the game, and the story would have just been lost. However, in order to kind of, make things a little bit better, they said, hey, Missing Link might be canceled, but Kingdom Hearts 4 is still here. They released a collage of screenshots of Kingdom Hearts 4, and it says, we're currently working hard on it, and we'll continue pouring ourselves into the game's development. We're dedicated to make this an experience that lives up to your expectations. So, yeah. They're basically saying, hey, we canceled this little side dish, but here's the steak. We canceled the baked potato, but here's, the steak and lobster. This is the game that we all really, really want, and it is still here, and it is still being worked on along with games that we still really want, like Dragon Quest XII. And speaking of Dragon Quest XII, we have some more news on that front. It says that it's being developed taking into account the next 10 to 20 years of the Dragon Quest series. There are parts that remain consistent with the traditional image of Dragon Quest, but new elements are also necessary. After all, as a brand, we always need to innovate. This will be taking a darker tone, which you already heard about, that it's going to be going darker, although Dragon Quest has always been dark. But it says that it's not going into any sort of specifics. But I'm kind of wondering if the reason why they're saying, hey, this is going to be, going over the next 10 to 20 years of the Dragon Quest series is, are they making another trilogy? The Erdrick trilogy came out, then the Zenithan trilogy came out, and then they kind of dropped the whole trilogy thing. But, we know how long games take nowadays. Like, back in the day, it took 1 year, maybe 2 years to make. Now they take 5, 6, 7, 8 years to make. And so maybe they're saying, hey, this is going to be another trilogy. That's why it's going to be shaping the Dragon Quest series for the next 10 to 20 years. So A lot of really exciting news came out of Square Enix the other day, and I just kind of wanted to go over all of it with y'all and let y'all know about it because there's a lot to digest here. So let me know what y'all think about this in the comments, and as always, have a good day.